Hey YouTube, how's it going? Kevin Cleary here with a knife video for you. And today I want to go over my most carried knives of November, December 2017. It's been an exciting couple of months and busy. I normally would have gotten to this about 2 weeks ago, but it's been pretty busy. So anyway, here we are. This is hopefully going to be posting on New Year's Eve. And if it does, which I'm hoping it does, Happy New Year's to you. I wish you all the best. And so let's go ahead and get into the knives that I want to share with you. I'm going to go over these one at a time. So let's move these guys out of the way. And let me, for those of you who are new especially, just kind of go over what's happening here. So a number of years ago, I tried to do my top 10 knives. And I just couldn't come up with a solid top 10 that would be long term. And I was like, you know, the only way I can really do this is if I were to come up with a top 10 every once in a while. And so that, well, that doesn't really work. And then I was like, wait a second. What if we did just do that? And so essentially what I started doing is I tend to have an EDC rotation. And so every month and a half or so, I will bring you guys a video sharing what's been in my pocket the most. Sometimes there's a bit of repetition from a previous video, and sometimes not. So let's go ahead and get started. I've got a number of knives that I want to share with you. You guys will get to check out a bunch of cool knives. I get to share with you a lot of the knives that I've been carrying and really enjoying, so that's a lot of fun for me. Starting with the Manics 2 Lockback. Now I do have a Manics 2 XL here with me as well, and both of these knives have seen a lot of pocket time recently. I really, really like both of them. This one I tend to carry when I want something lightweight and but I want something a little more substantial. You know, when I want a full size, full functioning knife, but I don't want to carry too much weight, I will bring this along. And it definitely works really, really nicely. Of course, this is considerably bigger. And this knife, again, gets a lot of use, as you can see just by looking at it. I've had this one for a long time. I've carried it an awful lot. And just recently, it's winter, so you're usually wearing a little more clothing, and so you can kind of get away with carrying some bigger stuff. So I've had both of these in my pocket quite often. Probably this one a little bit more, but I thought both of them were worth sharing. The next one is kind of related. I thought we'll go with a theme here to kind of get us started. This is the Cold Steel Recon 1. This is a great knife, one of the most versatile knives out there. Yes, it's big, but it's pretty lightweight for its size. The blade shape is really, really useful. Nice hollow grind there. They have recently changed this knife to be a flat ground knife, and I don't know how I feel about that. Well, actually, I do know how I feel about that. Let's restate that. I'm not a big fan. I really wish they would have kept the hollow grind. I find it just makes this such a great slicer, and I mean, this knife performs exceptionally well in all kinds of different roles. And I really kind of wish they wouldn't have changed it. I'm sure there's probably some of you out there watching that are really glad they changed it. Since we've got this knife here, let's grab another knife that kind of fits this theme. This is the Zero Tolerance 0909, and I want to say the last time I did one of these videos, this knife was also in the video. The difference being is at that time I was borrowing this knife from Real Bush Monkey EDC on Instagram, or Scott, and I liked it so much when I was using his that when these were on sale for Black Friday, I picked up one of my own, and man, that was a good deal. Don't expect to get that good of a deal. I think these are like $100. You won't find them for that anymore. And even, you won't even find them used for that anymore, because that was such a good deal. But these can still be had for around $120, $115, something like that. And I would imagine both new or used, they're going to be around that much. Because a lot of people selling them used, by the way, bought them when they were $140 or more. Anyway, great knife. Absolutely enjoy this knife. One cool thing, let me show you this. I've got these two knives. Check out the size difference. The Recon 1 is much bigger, but look at the fact that the blade is as much, you might even have a little more cutting edge on the Zero Tolerance. So great knife in terms of, size to cutting edge. And this is a really, really nice performing blade as well. Let's see here. I've got a couple of more knives in this sort of heavy duty theme, larger folders. This is the Benchmade Crooked River. This is probably my favorite Benchmade. And in fact, I would say it definitely is my favorite Benchmade. It's comfortable in hand. This one is smooth as silk. Just a really, really nice action on this knife. And And this knife I got, I knew when I sold my original one, and I've wanted one back ever since in the collection, so I'm really glad I was able to get this one back. Now, I do have coming for this knife some forged carbon fiber scales, and I'm pretty excited about that. So look for a video on that when they finally come and I get them installed. I may even do sort of a live video where I take them off and replace them, because Benchmades can be a bit of a pain in the neck to deal with that way. But otherwise, great knife, S30V, G10. I do like the gray and silver rather than the brown. There is a wood resin handle that's brown. I do like the gray G10 quite a bit better. I'm not sure if I'm going to leave the clip here. This is a split arrow clip. I may put a Benchmade deep carry clip on this knife. I had one on my old Crooked River and really liked it. What else have we got here? Let's switch gears just a little. I've mentioned this knife in a number of recent videos. This is the Boost Blade Smoke, and I am in love with this knife. I really, really like a lot of things about it. I have carried this an awful lot. What I really love about this knife is it's one of the few titanium frame locks I have that's light enough to carry in, you know, like track pants or workout pants. So really, really appreciate that. Look for my full review coming up. I think next week this review should be posting, and it's going to be a pretty darn positive review. There are a couple little nitpicks that I'll have, but overall I am definitely a big fan of this knife. Let's shift gears a little. I've got some other cool knives to show you, but before I do, let me show you this one. This is the Manley Comrade from Bolivia. This guy is how do I describe it? I think the best way to describe this knife is a modern tactical slip joint. Okay, now that's kind of an oxymoron, but what I mean by that is they've taken modern materials, modern construction methods, and tried to design a knife that would fit the same role as something like this. Maybe slightly lighter duty, but pretty darn close. But what they've done with this is, of course, a lot of places this would be illegal for two reasons. One, because it's locking, and two, because it's one-hand opening. So what they did was they made a knife that was non-locking, so this is a slip joint, and it's two-hand opening. But what they did was they made the back spring so stiff, okay, so stiff, that you really have to work to close it. And so to close this knife on your fingers, you would have a really hard time. You can, you know, I'm doing this to demonstrate for you guys, and I'm not gonna cut my finger because I do have this up here where the choil is gonna hit me first. But notice how even if I accidentally hit this on something, it's gonna stop at that point, and then that point, and then that point, all before it closes on my fingers. And that's by design. Now, in use, it can be a little onerous because it does make it like, man, opening this knife is a bit of a chore, and so is closing it. But the trade-off is you can use this with a lot more confidence than a lot of slip joints because you know that closing this on your hands is really, really going to be hard to do. All right? And yeah, definitely two-hand operation all the way. So really nice little knife there. By the way, the ergonomics, the performance on this knife are pretty good. Now there's a bit of a story here. I'll just give you this little sneak preview, guys. This knife was sent to me by Manley. What they were planning to do was send me their new lockback folder. They are coming out with a lockback, and they wanted to send that to me for review, which was perfect because they want to promote the new knife. They accidentally sent me this one. I let them know about it. They're like, yeah, no big deal. You know, because, you know, they're going to send me the other one probably this month, so January coming up, the other knife will come. But I wanted to share this one with you because it is a really cool knife, and it's one I've been carrying a fair bit. I have this idea in my head, so I've been testing a little bit. I have this idea in my head about shooting a video of like daily tasks being done with this knife and kind of asking that question. It's a bit of a rhetorical question if you're using a folding knife, but do you really need a lock? How can I get by just as well without a lock? And I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, but I probably will make a whole video about it. All right, time to get to the fancy stuff, guys. This is what some of you have been waiting for. I know some of you really like the budget stuff, some of you like the high-end stuff. I really like all of it, guys. So if you're watching my channel and wishing it was only one or the other, that's not really, I just just tend to enjoy a bunch of different knives from a bunch of different price points. So this, of course, is the AT15 from Andrew Demko. I really, really enjoy this knife, and I have carried this a lot. I have a hard time not carrying it, in fact, and I do end up at least kind of playing with it a little bit, flipping it open and closed a few times every single day. I know it's not a flipper, but it is really, really fun to fidget with. My full review of this knife posted recently, so you guys know I'm a big fan, and I absolutely get a lot of joy from carrying and using this knife, no question. Now, in a similar vein, I've got a couple of other knives here that are also very favorites that I do find myself handling a little bit every day. Here is my Amex Wish. And this knife is one that I recently took apart and just cleaned and maintained. I should have made a video of it, but the action is so much nicer. I'd forgotten how good this action was. But let me say this, when I even first got this knife, the action actually needed a little bit of love. So I took it apart, cleaned it up, and you may find that as well. And I think all of us have had this experience. I'd love to hear your story down below. I have had lots of knives where I got this brand new knife, and you know, the reputation that it had was stellar, and when it came, I was like, really, this isn't that great at all. But then when I took the knife apart and cleaned it up, it got way, way better. And I all of a sudden realized, you know, all it needed was just a little bit of cleaning and lubrication, and it was way, way better. And then I could really be happy with it. This is a knife that was kind of like that. From factory, it did have a little bit of dirt. I've cleaned it a couple of times, and a little bit of light cleaning and lubrication that really, really makes this knife shine. But wonderful knife, absolutely great knife from Amex. I look forward to, you know, they're doing a bunch of variations on the 24/7. I'll be interested to see if they do any of those variations on this knife. That'd be pretty neat to see. Some of them, by the way, wouldn't work. A couple more for you. Curtis F3. Absolutely phenomenal knife. I love this knife. A number of you have asked me recently, do you still like the Curtis as much as you did when you did your review on it? Have you had any issues with, I can't remember, something about the clip, I think someone asked me. And the answer is, I've had no problems. This knife is phenomenal. Really, it holds an edge like crazy. It's a great performing knife, and a great combination of, you know, exceptional quality and durability and usefulness. So total win. Now, another knife that fits that same category, and I'm going to have a special discussion about this knife. I'm also going to have a full review coming up. This is the large Inkosi, sort of the you know, the, not predecessor, that'd be going before. Anyway, the new iteration, if you will, of the Sebenza 25. So it's not a Sebenza, it's an Inkosi. Borrows a lot of things from the 25, similar dimensions, similar blade shape, stuff like that. An improved pivot as far as I'm concerned, slightly improved ergonomics. I like the clip placement, and I will have a little bit more discussion about this versus the 25 when I do the full review. If anyone's out there watching and you've got a Sebenza 21 that you wouldn't mind sending me, I'd love to do a comparison between those two knives. So yeah, if you're out there, or even if you have an Umnums on, that would make a great video as well. There you go, guys. That's what's been in my pocket the most over the last couple of months. We've got the Inkosi, the Curtis, the Smoke, the Manixes. Let's throw them both in there. You won't. Yeah, there we go. Fit it in. The Manley Comrade, Recon 1, Crooked River. Man, I'm running out of space here. The 909 from ZT. The Swish from Amex, and the AT15 from Andrew Demko. Thanks for watching. Happy New Year to all of you. And we will, oh yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will talk to you soon.